episode inside the program designed for men with guests who are men, hosted by men. My name is Kevin Bailey. My co-host Courtney Morrison is here as well. And so this program is aired every Wednesday, unless it's a holiday, at 5:30 p.m. right here on Love 101, the family station. Courtney.
Good afternoon, Kevin. Good afternoon, Radio Land. Good afternoon to all those tuning in to us on YouTube and Facebook Live. Indeed, this is the mailbox, and as my co-host stated, we just love giving men a platform to speak, to be, and to breathe, and to enlighten. This show will be nothing short of that. This is indeed the mailbox,
That's
and
right.
we highlight and encourage and empowerment on this program. Kev,
Man,
what you do?
I am doing fine. Giving thanks. It's the 9th of August already, 2023. It's a beautiful afternoon in Kingston City. And we are very privileged and honored to be co-host of this program. And Courtney, if you haven't already noticed, we have had a lot of young guests in recent times. We have just had one more add to this stream of young people. And we want to look at the topic, can we trust pastors who are young in age? Can
Hmm.
we trust pastors who are young in age? Courtney, what age were you when you became a pastor? Yeah, you don't want to tell me.
I've only been a pastor for the past 15 years,
Wow,
so that
that's
would
a
put
long
me
time.
in my 30s. Um,
Mm.
but Kevin, before we get any further into welcoming our guests, just want to say a big shout out because I'm not even in Portmore as I usually am. I'm in Mandeville, in
Ah,
Manchester, at the Kendall Camp Conference site, where I am the chaplain for the Missionary Church Youth Camp, age 15 to 17. So a big shout out to Pastor Luke Simpson and to all those who are here at the camp. It has been a great time. It has been a time of heart searching for these youngsters, and they have
mm.
been doing well. Indeed, it's a good time up here in Mandeville. Cool. Yesterday, some rain almost washed us when the breeze almost blew away.
Oh my gosh. Well, I have to big up Pastor Luke Simpson as well and the team there and you there, Courtney. Great work, great work. So continue to do so. Wonderful opportunity. I have to give a shout out to some friends who passed from Canada visiting Sherwin and Dorothy Aarons. Got the
Hey,
opportunity, yeah, to meet up with them and Dr. Michael Coombs and his wife Carol, their family as well. So I saw him at the event there in Draxall. So big up and those who are visiting Jamaica, welcome to the most beautiful island on planet Earth. And we are very happy as men to be a part of this. Agree.
today, today is also my brother's birthday. Owen Morrison, happy birthday. All
Wow.
the best for today.
Wow. Some wonderful things have been happening. I saw where Errol Rattray was celebrating 46 years of marriage and want to
You
give
better believe that.
a shout out
Am I,
for
am I that old?
yeah. So, good to see these examples, of marriages and men who are out there from Morn Point in the grill. We can change the narrative. We have this extraordinary ability to choose the power of choice. We can be better instead of bitter. So, Courtney, what are we gonna be looking at? What are we gonna be doing? Yeah.
But as you said, we're talking to a very young pastor, and the question is, can we trust pastors who are in young in age, or probably them don't know the ropes enough yet to do certain things? Let's find out. What do these topics and people have in common? Often we overlook putting topics like these on larger platforms to be discussed. And so we find that we'll mention them in passing, but not so much in depth, in terms of conversations within the church and within our larger society. Our creatives, musicians, and our pastors, children, our young men are people we want to talk about in healthy spaces. So let's give them the opportunity to be understood.
Certainly, this is where we challenge, encourage, empower our men to become all they were created to become. And so we want to be in this space where we encourage our young men as well. This is our privilege to welcome our guest this week, Pastor Dane Wilson. Pastor Dane Wilson is a brand new Bible college graduate and now ordained minister. He serves as intern pastor at the Mineral Heights Church, where he's working very hard to develop the lives of young people. Dane is confident. He has been speaking, persuading, and motivational, using his gifts there, where he uses to young people, and he speaks hope, peace, restoration by means of the grace of God. I want to tell you, listeners, that Dane loves sports, so he's very happy with what is happening with the Reggae Girls and Sunshine team there and others, predominantly basketball, and he also loves to serve God and his people. He lives by the mantra, I am a carrier of God's grace, gospel, and glory. At 21, he remains the youngest special guest on The Rock, which is a radio program that is broadcast by Love 101 by Bishop Eric Blair, and sometimes my co-host takes the honor as well. Welcome, 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 Dane. Welcome, Pastor Dane.
Pastor Dane's mic is probably still muted.
Hi, Pastor Dane. Welcome to the mailbox. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, great to have you on the program. Thanks for coming on.
It's a blessing to be hearing me clearly now.
Yes, we're hearing you clearly.
Right. It's a blessing to be on this show and to be amongst you, Mr. Bailey, and to be amongst Pastor Morrison. I was on the show with him just the other day. So it's almost like a good experience to be connecting with him again and just being in this space. It's just a wonderful experience. And I'm looking forward to a great discussion.
Thank you, Pastor Dane. Yes, I sat in for Bishop Harold Blair yesterday on the Rock, and so I would have met Dane from yesterday. So it's good. We're encountering each other twice in 2 days, and it was a privilege and an honor to just have spoken with you. And indeed, I'm hoping that all Jamaica will continue to listen to you and your teachings as well. Kevin.
Yes, well, it is indeed our privilege here and honor all over Jamaica and other parts of the world to have this conversation with Dane this afternoon. Man and man, remember, we want to hear from you. This is your space. We're live on Facebook and YouTube at Love 101 FM Jamaica, #1 gospel station on planet Earth. You can leave your comments via our WhatsApp line at 876-997-3125. That's 876-997-3125. Or please give us a call, big man. Give us a call, courageous man. 876-968-8327 or 876-968-8328.
Yes, and we really need to hear from you. Men, we really want to hear from you. And women, remember you can participate in the program by leaving us a message via WhatsApp or Facebook. Indeed, YouTube as well. Remember, you just got the information. The WhatsApp number is 876-997-3125. You may leave a text message. Remember, no voice notes or calls are allowed. We love you. We want to hear from the men today. Kevin, at this time, we normally give a shout out to our men. And we just want to say today and at this time too, we want you to join us because we count to 3 and then we shout out Monday. Yeah. And so we want you to join us in this exercise. So are we ready? After 3, 1, 2, 3. Monday.
Yeah. Man in the place. And that is what we want to remind Jamaica and also our men that indeed God has placed us here in a peculiar position, a position where we collaborate with our women. And we're here standing in the gap for many of our families, for society, for Jamaica on a whole. So man on man, we know it's challenging. We know the difficulties are here. So before we head into the main discussion, it's now time for us to get into the segment that we dub draft, where we preliminary open the way to our main segment. So we want to kickstart by asking our guest, Pastor Dane, to tell us a little bit about him being a pastor and especially a little bit about being so young. Tell me something now, Pastor Dane. How do you feel at this young age to have this tremendous responsibility of nurturing, molding lives, and being this oracle from God, which is a serious thing to say you're hearing from God and sharing with other people. Just tell me, what goes through your head, what's the feeling, and how you process all of that.
Uh, it's a very difficult process. I must share, if I must, my testimony. But
Mhm.
it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy by any easy mile. I can express very easily. When I was on my way to, going off to, when I was at Kingston College, because my high school, my alma
Yes.
mater is Kingston College, and I did really well at that school.
Fortis calorie celery non potest, sir. That's
Non-protest.
my alma mater too.
That's right. And I when I was at Kingston College, it really I was they always turned me as someone. They always call me pastor, right? But it's
Mm,
not anything that I saw as anything beyond me just being a good Christian at school, right? And I really kind of just represented Christ at school. So they call me pastor. And they never do certain things around me, never talk certain things around me. It was just good being a good influence, right? And I really wanted to be a doctor. That's really what I wanted to become, right? And
mm,
I had everything. When I said I had everything. I had everything I needed to become a doctor, from scholarship to the grades, to the accolades, to the achievements, to the ability, to the motivation, the encouragement. I had everything I needed. And when God was sending persons to call me to be a pastor. I'm from the Waltham Park New Testament Church of God, and a very dear auntie of mine by the name of Sophia Lewis, she prophesied over me, and when she
mm,
did it, it was almost like it's like I felt the fire of God, and from there I confirmed, and I came to the conclusion that yeah, this is it. Then I headed off to the Bethel Bible College, and various struggles, financial struggles, family struggles, because at a young age, persons are shocked. Persons are saying, "What are you doing? Go do some cape." Because I left from straight out of high school. I didn't even go and do cape, right? And I said, go, what are you doing, right? So the journey went on and on and on, and I watched myself mature and become more involved in the sphere of pastoral ministry, and it has just been a fulfilling journey, right? And I mean, even now, as a graduate of the Bethel Bible College, I've seen where God has just been continuously speaking to me, edifying me, helping me, right? Being an intern pastor at the Mineralites Church, I was kind of worried because I'm saying, yo, this is a traditional church, and this is a church that has a lot of elders in it. How am I going to, be a pastor at this church? And boy, it was an experience because when it was time to leave that church, I had the most heartwarming, overwhelming experience. Persons are coming to me, persons are talking to me, persons are just expressing how much of a good pastor I was for them, how much of a good person I was for them, how much of a good Christian I was to them, right? And how much I inspired them and helped them. It was just a blessing, right? And I have now been I'm not appointed to go to a church in Trelawney, the Bunkers Hill New Testament. And I'm just anticipating just God doing this a powerful thing. But it's been tremendously difficult for me personally. Because I'm from Kingston and
mm,
I've been moved to God sent me to Mandeville for Bible school, and then he
mm.
sent me to Clarendon for intern pastoral journey, and now I'm going to Trelawney. Like, it's really rough, you
Wow.
know? And it,
Yeah.
it, it really had a lot of pressure when I said a lot of pressure, it is an understatement to say that it was a rough journey because it was a lot of pressure, right? To having to
Dane,
balance the
Pastor
whole
Dane,
idea of thing.
I want you
Yeah.
to stick a pin right there. We're going to go for a break. You're listening to the mailbox. We're speaking to a very young pastor, 21. His name is Dane Wilson, and we are putting him on this platform. Can young pastors be trusted? Is the theme. We take a break. We'll come right back after this messages.
Man, yes, strong man.
At Health Connect Jamaica, we prioritize your well-being by providing quality and convenient private health care. Our dedicated team offers a range of medical services, including COVID-19 vaccination and HIV treatment. Access affordable health care at HCJ by calling 876-669-7349, WhatsApp 876-308-0178, or visit healthconnectja.com. This message was made possible by the support of the American people through the United States Agency for International Development. The contents are the sole responsibility of HCJ and do not necessarily reflect the views of USAID or the United States government.
Jamaica Central Bank digital currency is now here. Jamnex, no cash, no problem. Step into a future of ease, convenience, and security. Conduct business with your mobile device, instantly and without fees. This is how life should be with Jamnex. You catch it free. Jamnex and the rate free. Use it to buy a store by TV. You can buy your shoes at 3Ps. The Central Bank digital currency. No cash, no problem. Jamnex, backed by the Bank of Jamaica.
Cheesy Zulu, hey, hey, the cheese is not for you and you. Crispy, crunchy and cheesy right through. Wildly cheesy flavor, well tasty. Cheesy Zulu from the Butterkiss family. Try the sticks or the curl. Cheesy Zulu, the new boss, looking at this young world. Wildly cheesy flavor, well tasty. Cheesy Zulu from the Butterkiss family. New Cheesy Zulu Super Cheese Snacks, made by Sepra, must be good. Hey, my peeps, get this on the regular. Your HIV status if you consider. The least of a test once a year. Just 15 minutes says status clear. Cause it might not show up on your timeline and you learn too late, so you're out of time. A progressive future, one little, really long life, our story. You hear?
Remember, update your status in a real life. Go HIV test today.
Just 15 minutes say status clear. Really long life, our story. Really long life for say you coming from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Cubby's Baby Wipes is ideal for your baby's delicate skin, infused with vitamin E and aloe vera, and available for home or on the go. The time by Cubby's Baby Wipes is
5:49 here on Love 101, the gospel station that's number one in the nation, serving you for 30 years, and indeed giving the wind a mighty voice. I'm Pastor Courtney Morrison. With me is my co-host Kevin Bailey, and we're talking to Pastor Dane Wilson. He is the youngest pastor to have appeared as a special guest on the program The Rock, and indeed that's also aired here on Love 101. We're listening up to him a bit to hear what was it like in his earlier days, and he's explained to us the challenges and the difficulties that he's experiencing transitioning and being transported from one parish to the other. Pastor Dane, tell us a bit more. We want to know, before you became a pastor, was this something you had in your mind? I know you said you wanted to be a doctor, but tell us a bit about coming up in school. Were there challenges at school? What were some of those challenges that you may have had?
Right, thank you. I would have faced several challenges like the typical young person. Indeed, I would have faced some level of academic in my earlier high school years. I would have faced some level of academic struggle, and I would have also faced, struggle with what I term to be, just peer pressure. Because I know better. I've been a Christian since I was in primary school, from in fifth grade. So I went into high school a Christian, right? And it has been a journey growing, and, having moments where the Christian journey is rough. So it has been a struggle. And throughout that time, it was really kind of rough. I think the climax of it was when I was in the 10th grade, where it's almost as if God was calling me to a higher place. and I couldn't fight against it. He gave me messages, he gave me testimonies, miracles. He gave me so many things to validate the fact that he's just calling me to a deeper place. And from there on, my passion, because if anybody know me, they call me, they had to call me doctor. All I study is medicine. All I study is biochem,
Mm.
physics. These are the things I loved and still love at this point in time. These are the things I had passion to do, right? And everybody, when they heard that, boy, this is not the thing anymore. People shock because persons knew me to be a really serious Christian, so they called me pastor, but never see me as somebody that would have seriously taken on the role and taken on this journey. So I mean, it has been rough, but I've had good support, good friends, and good encouragement from both family and externally and internally from my church, and just a lot of support. And that's really what I think would have helped me throughout this journey.
To our listeners, this is the voice of Pastor Dane Wilson, and we want to ask you, Pastor Wilson, how did you know that this was the voice of God? You are just young, you love medicine, you're doing well in these subjects, and this is a huge decision. What were some, as it were, is it that you heard the voice of God? Is it the scriptures? Is it through people? Because many young men want to know, how do you know the voice of God? How do you know that God is directing you in a certain pathway? What was that experience for you?
Well, in a very simple way, and I will answer in a more exhaustive way after, but in a very simple way, uh, if you want to know what God sounds like and hear his voice, read your Bible. God speaks his word. Whatever is in his word, his voice will sound like that. That's first. And then I feel, and that's to all the young persons in the nation. That's to all the young boys, girls, young men, young women. That's to every Christian, every person that has ever wondered, how do I hear God? I've come to realize that God sounds like his word, right? And I have come to see that in my own life. When it comes down to being sure of my calling, it was there's a thing called conviction. When you're convicted of a purpose, it's almost as if there's no other thing that you want to do but this thing. So, as I would have mentioned earlier, my desire, my passion, and my goal was to be a doctor, right? And in the midst of all of that, when God impressed the spirit of on me, and when He would have anointed me and started to prophesy to me, send persons to me, right? When He would have just been encouraging me, right? When I read the Bible, I read the book of Deuteronomy, and really I just got so blessed when God was outlining, the how the nation can be blessed and how the nation can be cursed. And I was reading that, it's like this is talking to me. This is the requirements and this is the rudiments of just being a good minister. And not only that, but when I was reading through the book of Joshua, reading through the book of First and Second Timothy, these books all of a sudden became so interesting to me. I was reading them like crazy, right? And then it's almost I'm saying, why am I reading these books? When I started to read the conversion of Saul to Paul and his early missionary journeys and his early um church development like era, I was like saying to myself, no man, why can't I read some other aspect of the Bible? But I became so passionate, and I so many of these are personal types of experiences, really innate that I don't know how I can express it to somebody for them to understand it the way I feel it. But when you see my passion, that's what persons look at me and say, you're a very passionate person, right? When you see my passion and you see the way I drive towards this pastoral ministry, all of a sudden, dropping that, being a medicine, dropping the whole idea of heading into the medicinal field, dropping that and now becoming a doc, now becoming a pastor. Trust me, persons that know me know that this is serious because I had the scholarships, I had everything I needed to do to head into my dream.
Mm.
And when person see that I dropped it, they were shocked. They were bewildered, right? And I feel like that watching persons being shocked of that kind of confirmed it to me as well. So those things would have really kind of made the journey of hearing, confirming, validating the voice of God, it was much easier.
Boy, Pastor Dane, listening to your story, it so reminds me of my own. I was studying to get into medicine as well when the call came and became a pastor. And trust me, it was just that same passion. So I understand that call. That call is one that when it comes, there is a burning desire, but not only a burning desire, you feel as if you can't do anything else but what you are called to.
Right.
So as a young 21-year-old pastor Dave, you know, how often have you had to explain your shortcomings that you're not always a reflection of you being a minister and that you are still prone to error? Because I'm sure you're still prone to error,
Of
although
course.
persons are commending you. Tell me, what sort of responses do they give to you about your making errors? Are there those who are around you who point them out and say, "You're my young boy, man. I'm just a learn." Any such thing?
Mm.
I mean, inevitably speaking, you will face that type of issue. It has to happen because the ideal pastor, the ideal person that wants another person to lead them, you want a person that looks, seems, sounds mature. And the based on what I've studied, the ideal age and stage of maturity that persons will trust for a pastor is between probably about 35 to about anywhere up more. The older that goes, the more experience that goes, is the better, right? So when you see somebody that is 14 years younger than that, inevitably you will face a level of pressure. And I've faced that to some extent. I've seen where persons are not so privy to say, I make no young boy lead me. I make no boy without married lead me. Nah, yeah, I've seen that. I've seen it for myself. I've seen it on various levels, and what I've done is I don't see it as disrespect, right? I've seen it as a natural human behavior. That's how humans are, right? If you are 60, 70 years old, you've journeyed the Christian journey for 40, 50 years, and this young boy, come on, he's been saved for not even as long as you've been alive, and he's gonna want to come and lead you. Inevitably, I believe it's gonna cause for you to think that type of way. But with grace, I've really kind of, as I said, not seen it as disrespect, and I've kind of seen it in the light to say, boy, I thank God that He would have given me this opportunity to see both sides of ministry, because there are persons who embrace a young person taking on the journey. That's one of the most encouraging things for me, because
Yes,
the church that
yes.
I'm from is typically you'd call it a big church, right? The Waltham Park Church, and I've grown up in that church. And the persons that have seen me, they've known me to be a person that all my life I've never really been involved in anything to say, hey, that young man, if he become a pastor, I would not trust him, right? So
Pastor Dane, we're going to continue the conversation. We're going to take our second break. We're going back to the studio. This is the mailbox on Love 101 FM. Back in a moment.
Strong man, integrity man, I am a man.
Are you ready for another exciting show inside Alive 1 to 5 this Throwback Thursday, August 10? Well, join me, your host, Sarah, and the Chirpy One for another time to recollect and reconnect. Stay tuned for the brain testing mental science at 1:45. Then prayer blast will be at 2 o'clock as we ring in the prayer bowls of heaven. 2:15 we'll have pieces of the past. Then at 3 p.m., make we talk. All this and more will come alive 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. This Throwback Thursday, August 10, on the family station, Love 101, celebrating 30 years of music, family, and love.
Sometimes all we need is a listening ear. The listening ear, the counseling, the logical reasoning, and spiritual guidance are what appeal to us. That's why I'm here. I'm Dr. Joan Pinkney, the counselor, your counselor on Love 101 FM, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, 10 to 11 p.m. You know you can call on me. I will listen and more. So let's talk about what's bothering you. Anything. Tune in, listen, call in, text, or voice message. I'm Dr. Joan Pinkney, counseling psychologist, ready with a listening ear. Tuesdays and Wednesdays, 10 to 11 p.m. Right here on the family station, Love 101 FM.
Yes.
Welcome back to the program, The Mailbox. I'm Courtney Morrison. My co-host Kevin Bailey is with me. We're talking to the youngest pastor to grace the faith of either the Rock or even us here with on the Mailbox. He is Pastor Dane Wilson of the Mineralites New Testament Church, and he's being transported all over the world, all over the nation of Jamaica to pastor, and he has his own encounters. We're just hearing a bit more. Young boy like you, how can you lead someone of the age? You're not even saved as long as they are, and you're only 21. Well, before going further, there's a little message sent to me by Judge Paula Blake, who wants to say her prayers are with you that you remain strong and do well, uh, Pastor Dane Wilson. So her prayers are with you, and her scripture is First Timothy 4:12, that indeed says, "Be thou an example of the believer. Let no man despise thy youth." Do you have any apprehension at all about continuing life as a pastor? Because we hear how many pastors resign after how many years. They can't deal with the pressure. There's so much, especially you have not yet taken on a family. Do you think, looking ahead, that if you take on a family, the pressure might become too much? Are there any apprehensions at all, Pastor Dane Wilson?
Uh, no. And I can say that very confidently, uh, upon the basis of just from the standpoint that one, I have been blessed with a lot of mentors that have carried me thus far and can continue to carry me. I believe that every pastor, irrespective of your age, should have somebody that they look up to, that they follow, that they can be teachable to. No matter if you're 40, 50, you must have somebody ahead of you that you look to. Fortunately for me, I have a lot of persons that I look to, and that is that's for various reasons, for various different uh abilities that they carry. Right. For one, I look to the pastor who would have sent me off, Reverend Dr. Roy Notice. He would have just blessed my heart, blessed my life, right? And given me just the whole idea of how you can balance your ministry and a family, and just kind of just give me the idea of just being down to earth, right? And now my current pastor, Reverend Dr. Stevenson Samuels, he just take me on and just making me learn the rudiments of pastoral ministry. And then my youth pastor, Pastor Michael Craig, help me, guide me, show me how to work with young people. So it's almost like I'm getting, and then my intern pastor, Bishop Stanley Ivy, you just have me in the system, showing me the backgrounds of it all. I'm very confident that because of my teachable nature, I have the ability to say that I can see far ahead. See that it won't be a journey that I'll be, oh, yeah, man, this is the best journey I've ever taken. However, it's a journey that I can say is the most fulfilling one. And it's one that I am sure and confident that even looking at the present circumstances of me being sent all over the nation and in some cases all over the world, I can look and say to myself that I'm confident that I won't leave. And it's a big statement to say that, but I can look and say because things aren't the way I would like it to be now. Ideally, I'd love to be closer to home. I'd love to be with my family. Ideally, I would love uh, ideally, I'd love to be in a lot of circumstances that I'm not right now. But
Yeah.
amidst that, I'm still pushing, and still doing what I need to do.
Wow, thank you so much, and very encouraging, very empowering, right there, Pastor Dane Wilson. You have some tremendous mentors, people like Reverend
Yes.
Dr. Stevenson Samuels, Bishop Raymond Notice, and all those powerful
Excellent.
persons
Men
that
of
are
God.
supporting you. Yeah. So my question, as a follow up before we touch another thing we call favorite follow. But before we go there, just to ask you, a young man, a handsome man, how you deal with the pressures and temptation of girls and what comes with it. You're a sexual human being, and as a young pastor, you'll be carrying a kind of authority and power, influence, and you can become very attractive to the
Mhm.
females. How do you deal with that? And I'm sure many are listening and wondering how this young pastor deal with situations like that. Talk to us, Pastor Dean.
Right. And I'm glad I am on a platform like this where I can speak to many young persons, many persons on a whole, and speak to aspiring young pastors as well. And I want to let them know that the idea that comes from you thinking that the second you become a pastor, you're going to be perfect, it's not true, right? That's the first disclaimer I want to put out. And not only that, but just the whole idea that you must understand that there are persons that will be attracted to your ministry, but not necessarily attracted to you as a person, right? And you have to have the discernment to make that distinction, right? And in the bio, it would have expressed what I believe. I am confident in the fact that I have a speaking gift, so uh, I can encourage persons, and persons have told me that I've encouraged them, right? And I've just been a good person in their life when it come on to preaching, teaching, stuff like this, right? And I've had the experience, or I've come to realize that there are many persons that will be pulled to you, not necessarily because they want to know you as a friend or know you as as the person that you are, but know you really because they see you ascending, they see God taking your places, right? And you have to be able to make that distinction. As a person, I've come to understand that, and this is one of the reasons why I say that it is a human thing for persons to look at a young pastor and say, I don't want him to lead me. Because they're looking at a young person saying, but him have passions riding him, right? How can he ever believe that he can be a pastor, right? And I have to come to understand that there is a balanced approach to that. Balanced approach in the sense to say that if I should pastor a church and I should take on the pastoral journey for any specific church, there are two things I have to upkeep and remain consistent in. One, the genuine love, the deep, genuine love for God's people, meaning that I will continue preaching, I'll continue teaching, I'll continue leading, I'll continue doing the right things amidst whatever the circumstances may be in the church. And two, my level of integrity. There must be the pastor has to have integrity. It is not a discussion, it's not a debate, it's not an argument. But the pastor has to have integrity. The pastor must be able to be trusted that he is not going to make either money, fame, females, for a female pastor, males. He or she is not gonna allow these things to throw him off the course, but we will stay committed to the journey. And those are two things that I'm glad that I'm a young pastor, so I have the time to learn and embody and grow and kind of say to myself, God, I thank you that you have given me the grace to say very innocently and to say honestly that I thank God that He has given me the grace to stay firm in those two affirmations about myself.
Wow. We're listening to the voice of Pastor Dane Wilson, the pastor at the Mineral Heights Church out there in Clarendon, New Testament Church. His mentor, Reverend Dr. Stevenson Samuel. We should big up, sir, to you as we talk, as we are here on the program today. Kevin, I'm here sitting listening to Dane, and I'm sure those on Facebook and YouTube and those on the radio are saying, "Are you sure this man is 21? This man speaks with wisdom way beyond this age of 21. This man sounds like a man of experience. This man sounds like a man who has been through the ropes long ago. He's not a novice at what he's saying." But indeed, he is 21 years old for those who are listening. Past student of Kingston College. I have to drop that in, right?
Hey,
But
Courtney, as
yes.
you continue, there are a few of our listeners wanting to share. Sister Yvette Williams, good evening. When I listen to your program, my mind take me back to the scripture where Solomon was just a youth when he was made king and pastor. As you lead and guide along your pathway, she says, "God bless you, son. Be strong and courageous as Joshua." And so that's one comment there. There's another excellent pastoral relay for Dane. So you're in the race and others are passing on baton to you. And then from Paula Powell, and thank you, Paula. I pray that the Lord will bless and keep Pastor Dane and continue to equip him to be a young and effective shepherd like David. And once the judge says so, it's so, right? So bless you.
Indeed.
Thanks.
Kevin, I'm just sitting here. Just say something. We have just 2 minutes before the next break, day before our final break for this evening. Mentorship, you mentioned who you had. How important is that for you and for persons, men in general? What's your perspective on that?
I feel like if you're gonna be a pastor, as I would have outlined before, the two qualities you need to be a pastor: the deep love for God's people and great levels of integrity. One of the next big things that you need is humility. You have to be teachable. It's not negotiable. You have to be teachable. You have, especially if it's at a young age like myself, there's a lot of, you have to come to the conclusion. If you don't come to the conclusion, there's a lot you don't know. You don't realize that there's a lot you don't know. I've come to realize deeply within myself that I'm young. And there is a lot ahead of me that I need persons to help me with. Mentorship is essential. And you have to have good mentors, right? You only become what persons ahead of you only become the persons you look ahead of and aspire to be. So if I aspire to be just like a great pastor and I have a great pastor as my mentor, you can only become such a person, right? You can't have bad mentors and expect to be a good person. It's not going to work that way, right? So I think very strongly that humility is a must. If God is going to carry you further, you have to be humble. Because if you're not humble, God will be afraid to use you, because He wants somebody that He can use, that He can say at the end of the day, it's all about Him and His glory. When you're humble, God uses you more, because God can say, I can use this person to heal, preach, change lives, and at the end of the day, He won't return the glory back to Himself, but back to me as God. And I think that is a good example to follow if you're going to be a good pastor. Humility.
Thank you very much, Pastor Dane Wilson. We're going to take a break here on the mailbox, our final break before the end of the program. And we come right back to you right after these messages.
Strong man, integrity man, I am a man. With over $1 million in cash and prizes in the Yummy Summer Competition. Purchase any 4 different Yummy pastries. Write your name and number on your receipt. Send in with your Yummy salesman or drop off at the nearest supermarket or Yummy agency. 28 weekly prizes, 4 winners every week, plus grand draw August 28th for a laptop. $60,000, $30,000, plus a Yummy basket and back to school vouchers. Grand prize, a family weekend for 4 at the Holiday Inn. It's the Yummy Summer Competition, authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act.
All-American Institute of Medical Sciences, AIMS, a top-ranking medical school, 66 High Street, Black River, St. Elizabeth. Programs on offer include Associate Degree in Health Sciences, Bachelor of Science in Optometry, and the Doctor of Medicine. Low student-to-faculty ratio, low tuition costs with up to 40% scholarships for Jamaica Nationals, USMLE courses, www.aims.edu.jl, 876-634-4068. AIMS, medical education par excellence. Still accepting applications for September 2023.
Get the Western Union back to school bonus from now until September 22. 50 winners of $10,000 every week. Millions in scholarships of up to $100,000 each. And double your Western Union money transfer in your GK1 wallet to get you ready for the new school year. You could be one of over 300 winners. Just download the GK1 app, receive a Western Union transfer in your GK1 wallet, and you're automatically entered to your back to school bonus. Visit gkmsonline.com for all the rules. Authorized under Section 58.
Oh, every time I pay the rent, it feel like the money could have been better spent. More something from my own, more for turn the key in my own home. We make it so convenient when you contact the NHD. No matter your home ownership, boy, you can get a loan easily. If owning a home is what you want to do, NHD is here for delivering more. Delivering more. I am a man, I am a man, I am a man.
Strong man, integrity man. Yes, and we have.
Welcome back to the program. This is the Mailbox. I'm Pastor Courtney Morrison, sitting in with my co-host Kevin Bailey and our guest, Pastor Dane Wilson. He's 21 years old. He's a pastor at the Mineral Heights New Testament Church, and he is just a tower of strength. He's one who continues to show that he speaks beyond his age in terms of wisdom and knowledge. As we come to this section, there is something that we call our favorite folders that Pastor Dane, we want to ask you about. We're putting you in the hot seat on this one. The question here in our favorite folders, we just want your opinion. We want to know. There's no right or wrong. We want to hear from you. It says most women don't want to marry pastors, and you're already unmarried. How do we combat this issue? Is this an issue for us? You think you being a pastor might keep those interested young ladies away? Your thoughts on this one, Pastor Dane?
I actually find this idea to be really, it's very amusing, right? I, as a young pastor and as someone that has seen the rudiments of pastoral ministry in the lives of others, I am not opposed to a person, a woman, who would come to the conclusion that it is not good or it is not favorable to marry a pastor. I am not in opposition, because to be a pastor's wife, just like how the life of a pastor is a calling, I feel within myself that it is not written down anywhere, but I feel like to be a pastor's wife is also a calling. The rudiments and requirements that it takes to be a pastor's wife is not a normal thing. You cannot. It's not a normal wife. You have to come to the conclusion that your husband might be sent anywhere. Your husband might be placed in any situation. Your husband might be placed in rough patches. Your husband, automatically have to be a leader. You have to be significant in the church. You have the amount of requirements and roles and it is completely separate and apart from you being a mother or a regular wife at home. The requirements that it takes to be a pastor's wife, outside of a calling, it's difficult. extremely difficult, and not one that I would tell the ordinary woman to just, hey, yeah, man, go get married to a pastor, man. It's gonna be ordinary. It's not. It will never be ordinary, right? So that is from that place that I'm not in opposition. However, I'm not an extremist, right? So I wouldn't tell a person to say, hey, don't ever get married to a pastor, right? Because it will never work out. If you ask some of the pastors' wives, what they'll tell you, it has been extremely difficult, but it has also been extremely fulfilling, right? Just because if you walk in your calling, you don't necessarily walk for ease of comfort. You walk for fulfillment and faithfulness to God. And it's the same thing with being a pastor, right? It's not going to be easy to be a pastor, but it's fulfilling. Seeing the lives of persons being touched, seeing persons' lives change by the grace of God, seeing so many things happening around you. And I feel like in that special case, it's a blessing to be able to to be a pastor's wife, in the sense to say that it is your calling. When it's not your calling, boy, don't tread on those waters.
So,
Hey, Kevin,
Pastor
Kevin,
Dean,
I could sit and listen to this young pastor for days and hours.
yeah,
No man.
let me ask you a question, Pastor Dean, as we talk about wives of the pastor. What kind of a wife do you envisage? I know you're young, and I am now assuming that one day you might want to be married. But just give me a sneak preview of the kind of woman that you probably characteristics, whatever, that you think would be suitable for you as a pastor. Talk to us a little bit about this frivolous question I'm asking you, but very important.
It's a very difficult question indeed, and I feel like if I must answer that question in a very honest way, I feel like while I have male mentors that are ahead of me, I also look to, so every pastor that I look to, they have a wife, right? And
Mm.
their wife has significant qualities. I say, if my wife had that quality, it would be a blessing, right? So I kind of pick out from each relationship with the four different classes that I've outlined to you that I term to be my mentors. All their wives are very much similar, and I can outline about three things that are non-negotiable for me. The number one thing is humility. A wife that I ideally would want to get married to, she has to be humble, right? And the reason being, one of the things I'm confident about is because of my young age, I know God is going to take me a far way. I know for sure He's going to take me a long way, right? And because of that, I'm going to have various experiences where God is moving in my life, and I need to be, I need to have somebody beside me that can either one, humble me, or two, stay humble together with me, right? I can't have somebody that is in it for the hype or in it for the joy of being alongside a good leader. The second thing is that I need somebody that is service oriented, right? Somebody that can be in the church and help me push the church together with me, push the kingdom together with me, right? And somebody as well, thirdly, who, I mean, they can be embodied to just be a good woman, right? And I'm not talking anything physical. I'm just talking to just being a person that is, if people can look at and say, yeah, so that girl is a woman of modesty, character, a woman that anybody look at and say, yeah, is a good girl, that is a good woman, that is somebody that have great qualities, right? And the reason why I pick those three things, the three things are separate and apart from anything physical. Because what I've come to realize, and I'm not saying this because I want to sound spiritual, but I'm saying this from a genuine place. You have to look and strive towards qualities that are long term, right? I'm striving towards long term qualities. Beauty fades, as the Bible says, but qualities will last forever. So in my head, these three things, they are not they're not qualities that will waver over time, right? They're qualities that will stand, and qualities that perhaps will get better. And if I'm gonna look, if I'm gonna strive towards a powerful relationship as a pastor, those qualities are not negotiable, right? As I bring my own qualities to the table.
Kevin, I am listening to Pastor. I'm a pastor and I'm just sitting down. I don't even know if I should be talking and just listening. But in these last couple of minutes, Pastor Dane, before we do, I don't know. Do we have any comments from our social media platform? That if there are any, let us know, please. If they can be brought up so that we can share them with our listeners.
There's one for you.
Yes.
Yes, this is from Blessed Highly Favored. I believe that it's a calling just to be a wife. I believe that my husband is not a pastor, but it takes a lot just being a wife.
Elvina Daly says, Jesus have to provide that wife. Guide him, Jesus. He said, there goes a prayer for you already. Good evening, love family. Yes, integrity and control yourself. Continuation of Elvina's discourse. So there's some good godly advice. Plus, there are some prayers apparently that are going up for you. Kevin, at
Yeah.
age 21, what was I doing? Becoming a pastor? I don't think so. Then, as we close, a word of encouragement to those who may have a calling on their lives, but they're probably in school, they're probably pursuing another career, they're probably pointed in another direction, and is having a struggle making a decision. Yet they know what they hear is the voice of God. I've had one young person tell me already, they know what God is calling them to, but they don't think they're ready to answer the call. They're going to finish school first or do whatever they are doing, and then later on in life they'll pick up that call. Tell us, encourage someone who may be having that struggle, especially our young men who have been called.
Right. I firstly I appreciate all the kind gestures and the kind encouragements and the prayers, and I do agree with the comment that said it's calling to just be a wife. I agree, and all these encouragements are just enriching. To answer that question, I would have said that to myself. For me, it was somebody that ministered to me and somebody that helped me and guided me to or persons that would have guided me to becoming to this resolute decision. But pastoral ministry is what I want to do. And I feel like as a person, there has to be some level of understanding of what pastoral ministry is, right? And if I'm speaking to a young person right now, I'm speaking to a young person telling you the understanding of pastoral ministry is key indeed, but not only that, but there must be a acute awareness in the fact that to God, in many cases, age is just a number. In fact, if you were to choose an ideal age, he would choose a young age, right? And we see that through the scriptures. David, Timothy, Jeremiah, the three Hebrew boys, Joseph, Josiah, who became king at the age of 8. Jesus was impressing elders at the age of 12 in the synagogue, right? So we see that God is not opposed to young persons having leadership positions. And I want to encourage you as I speak to you. I want to encourage you, telling you, don't use your age as an excuse to say, boy, people are going to look down on me and it's going to be rough and it's not going to be something that is fulfilling. It's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult and it's going to break my heart. It's going to crush my dreams and my passions. What I would love to say to you as a person that has been through it and a person that is still going through it, when you lock in and connect to your purpose, there's no more fulfilling thing. And if God is calling you to this type of life, if God is calling you to be a pastor, don't put God one side, but embrace it and charge into it and allow yourself to be teachable And trust
Thank
me,
you
the
very
journey
much.
will be fulfilling.
Pastor Dean, we have to put a pin on it right there. Thank you very much. We ran out of time. And indeed, we want to say thanks to you for being here, Trisha and Brian, Chimoy Butler for technical support. And indeed, we close this week with this quote: youth is not a time to be wasted. It's a canvas on which you can paint the masterpiece of your life. Kevin.
That's right. So catch us next week, same place, same time inside the mailbox. So have a great rest of the afternoon. We're back with you next week. What was it? Monday.
Monday.
Monday.